of the doubt. In this particular case, guys, I was going to speak about, and I will speak about, the whole issue of, now that you have violence in the States, now that you have, Jews being attacked on the streets, and, we have a wake-up call. That's a different conversation, but, there's a few officials, one in particular. I'm going to actually tell you exactly what his name is. His name is... Yeah, second. His name, he tweeted out recently, this is officially Biden administration. I just want to put the right search terms in and find this for you guys. Biden official, whatever, his name escapes me now. But he basically said, maybe it's not such a good idea to wear a kippah. And, what I was going to come out and say, look at these Jews in America, look what's going on. This is a repeat of what went on in the Soviet Union. We're running scared, so to speak, for our lives. We're hiding. And, I can't believe this. I can't even believe that this guy's saying it. I was going to go into this whole thing of, there's a deep reason for this and all these kind of things. And there is a deep reason for this. There is. The people who speak like this, they are nothing more than a reincarnation of the kapos, the Erevrov that were in previous generations. But I guess on a deeper level, when you examine things on a deeper level, you look at who are the majority of the, I don't want to say all the Jews in America, who are the majority of the Jews in the United States? The majority of the Jews in the United States are Ashkenazi Jews, people who are either, whose families came either literally over on the boat to Ellis Island. Some people came, let's say in the 20s and 30s before the Holocaust. Some people came, and some people are grandkids and great-grandkids of Holocaust survivors. Or even people who perished in the Holocaust, whose I guess grandparents were able to escape as kids, whatever it is. I have a friend, for example, his grandfather, bless his memory, was a kid, and he was able to escape on the Kinder transport, through, I think it was like Portugal or something like that, or Spain or something like that, from Poland and Germany. So you have all these stories. You have all these stories and families, and my friends, what we have to realize is that there is not only psychological but spiritual trauma on a spiritual level that gets passed down from generation to generation. And guys, I can include myself in this to some extent because. Having been born in the Soviet Union, you're talking about, okay, so my family, my parents like to say I was born in captivity, right? So my parents were in the third year of their 10-year stint as refuseniks when I was born. Imagine a person who's carrying a child and she has uncertainty, right, in her. She doesn't know on any day is she going to leave the place she's living at, Soviet Union, is she not going to leave? Is she going to go to prison? She's being interrogated every 2 seconds. Her husband's being interrogated, her phone's being tapped, stuff like that. These things affect people, and through generation, these things cascade into, the next generation. Or you're talking about the previous generation, right? My grandmother on my mother's side was evacuated as a kid to Uzbekistan. My grandfather, my father's father, was POW twice, and he served in World War II in Stalingrad. On the front, my grandmother, who was 20 years younger than him, or 18 years younger than him, she was a nurse during the war. these are people that went through trauma. And this trauma, and I would venture to use the term spiritual trauma, is passed down to the next generation and to the next, like 2 or 3 generations. You're talking about we are the combination of all of the traumas, again, spiritual and emotional and psychological traumas that throughout the ages. And you guys could say, well, so if you talk like that, then all these people should be damaged. I'll tell you guys something. It's not that everybody's necessarily super damaged or really damaged, but I'll tell you, in America, people used success or I guess financial or achievement or otherwise to, I guess, mask. Not to say that's a bad thing. Everybody should go and do what they need to do. But a lot of people use these things as a mask to mask, dealing with the issues. And even so, a lot of people are, they go to therapy and all these kind of things. So, my friends, when I'm looking at what's going on today in the States with regards to people being afraid to wear kippahs, and it's actually an ironic thing when you think about it, because on the one hand, the majority of Jews in America are not religious, are not affiliated. Most of them are, they vote for this two-state illusion, Democratic Party. How often they go to shul? They go maybe Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. They're Yom Kippur Jews, right? I'm not judging anybody. I'm just giving you facts. When they did the survey, the Pew Research survey, what was it, 8 years ago, and they asked Jews, how do you connect to your heritage? They said the number one answer. I'll tell you guys. I'll read to you guys this thing, and you guys will understand. Here, Pew Research survey, Jews America. This is like a title of this thing. Here you go. The thing was called, the survey that they did was called Jewish Americans. It was conducted in, they did it more recently. But what was this? Was this about the same thing, I wonder? Oh, here you go. Okay. They did a thing in 2020. This is a recent thing. Okay. So here we go. Jewish identity by age. So you're talking about, 18. So this is by age. I wanted to get to the part where they ask how people connect to their Judaism. So you have 17%. Oh, this is 18 to 29 Orthodox. It's interesting. The younger generation is bringing back Orthodoxy. So I guess Orthodox people have more kids, so that makes sense. So you have 8% conservative. The conservative movement is dying. So you have Reform, which is the biggest one, and then you have unaffiliated. So, which is like 41% of 18 to 29-year-old Jews unaffiliated. But I wanted to get to the part that talks about how do people, what is the thing that how they connect to their heritage. And I don't know if this survey has it. I think the 2013. See, it says asking if religion is important to them. 21% say very important. 26% somewhat. 53% of Jewish adults in America said that religion is not at all or not too important to them. I'm sorry, Jewish adults, yes. And in America, all adults, 34%. So you see that the non-Jews are actually more machbid on this thing. There you go. How often do Jews attend religious services? 52% of people said seldom or never. 27% a few times a year. The Yom Kippur people, the Pesach people. And 12 is weekly. So you're talking about from people that go on Shabbos, right? How many people believe in the God of the Bible? 26. How many people believe in higher power, just spiritual force? 50. Okay. So nothing connected to Torah. How many Jews don't believe in anything? 22% of Jewish adults. Okay, guys, I'm going on a tangent, but I wanted to read to you. Here you go. Read to you here you go. Okay. Unbelievable. Most U.S. Jews at least sometimes eat Jewish foods, share Jewish culture with non-Jews. Oh, this is a cultural engagement. Okay. I want to see the top answer with regards to sorry guys, Jewish connection. You can get it. I mean, listen, I can go to the 2013 study, and I can pretty much, I don't think much has changed. If anything, it probably got worse, so to speak. Here, Pew Survey, Jews, 2013. Okay, there you go. A portrait. This is the one. A portrait of Jewish Americans. Here we go. So Israel. Okay. This was the question. What does it mean to be Jewish? Percentage saying blank X is an essential part of what being Jewish means to them. Ladies and gentlemen, 73% of Jews in the United States of America said, this was the number one answer in Family Feud, remembering the Holocaust is an essential part of what of what being Jewish means to them. Remembering our collective death is the most important thing that they could possibly do. My friends, sometimes I wonder if we didn't have a Holocaust, what would they connect to? Yeah, now you have 69% leading ethical and moral life, which I don't even know what that means. That's a very vague thing. 56, here you go, 56%. This is 8 years ago, guys. I wonder how high this number went up. Work for justice and equality. The question is, work for justice and equality for whom? 49%, being intellectually curious. Really? I think that number went down. 43% caring about Israel. I think that number may have gone down. There you go. Having a good sense of humor. 42%. Being a part of a Jewish. By the way, guys, in case you're wondering why these numbers are so high, and it's not like a pie. It's just people's answers, and they overlap. 28% being a part of a Jewish community. 19% said observing Jewish law. 14% eating food, traditional foods. So you're talking about some of the top answers were basically, Seinfeld and lox and bagels, and the Holocaust, and working for Tikkun Olam, justice and equality. I'm assuming that that's what that means. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that. Wow. What is compatible with being Jewish? Can a person be Jewish if he or she works on Shabbat? Okay, 94% said yes, obviously. Still Jewish. Strongly critical of Israel. 89% said yes. 68% said if does not believe in God said yes. Interesting. 29% of people said if he doesn't believe in God, then he can't be Jewish. That's interesting. I don't know how that checks out with the other answers. If he works on the Sabbath, so it's like doesn't make any sense. Believes Yoshka was the Messiah. 34% of people said is not compatible with being. So interesting. Guys, I'll tell you something. Whenever I talk to Jews on the left wing side of the political spectrum, they constantly bring up when you talk about Christians who support Israel, and you talk about the Republicans and evangelicals and all this stuff. This constant, these are people who are not religious. They don't learn Torah. They don't go to shul, but they have this and I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. There has to be some explanation for this, al-pi Kabbalah or something. Why do left-wing secular Reform Jews have such a problem, maybe even a bigger problem than Orthodox Jewish people have, with Mr. J.C. Penney, with Yoshka? Or they have a problem with evangelicals who support Israel and who they are afraid that evangelicals, why do they support Israel? Because they want us all to gather in Israel and have, Gog and Magog and explode, and Yoshka will come back and save everybody. My friends, left-wing Jews, I don't know why, they're not religious, they don't go to shul, they are obsessed with this whole canard. It really is a canard. It's a canard. It's a lie. It's I don't know, parenthetical, tangential, and how should I put it, marginal at best, that these people believe what I just described. There's about maximum 5% of those people. Maximum, I will tell you guys, probably even less. But I just find it interesting that these people, he says, if you believe that Yoshka was Messiah, 34% of American Jews said yes, 60% said no. Some of those people are left wing, most of those people. They literally, some of them don't even believe in the Torah, most of them don't go, they don't keep Shabbat or anything like that. But for some reason, they have this thing about this Yoshka guy. Not that I have a thing, I'm pro. I just find it interesting. I just find it really interesting that they have this like virulent aversion to anyone who believes in Yoshka and those people supporting Jews or Israel, because they think that those people have a hidden agenda. I think those people used to have a hidden agenda. I think at this point they realize that we're back in Israel, that they help us with the vineyards, with the wineries, they donate money, whatever it is, guys. I just find it incredible. But back to the topic, I kind of veered off. The point is, guys, you look at what's going on in the States, and you look at the way that American Jews are, basically, and how they're reacting to what's going on, to anti-Semitism, and they are just, cowering in a shell. They are hiding. But the fact that they are hiding is part and parcel of a bigger... So it's like, somebody is for some reason deciding to call me. Wonderful business partner calling from the States. But anyway, so it's incredible. It's really incredible that they cower and they hide. But the thing is, guys, you have to understand that there are generational issues here, and it's part and parcel of what I just described to you, the answer that was given 8 years ago, and I'm pretty sure the answer is more or less the same. It may even be higher for social justice this time around, but I think the Holocaust answer is pretty up there, and it's interesting that, I'll tell you guys, my friend Nachliel, his brother actually wrote an amazing article, and I can read you the article, it's not a long article, about the Holocaust and about Jews who basically, base their entire identity. Guys, it's one thing to remember the Holocaust. No one's saying you shouldn't remember it, but people who base their identity on the Holocaust. So I'm going to read you guys this article. Yeah, the article is called "Stop Holocaust-Based Identity." As a grandson of a survivor and IDF captain, I find banal ceremonies and never again declarations ineffective. After leading an IDF march into Auschwitz-Birkenau, I understood the magnitude of our educational failure. The last day of our IDF witnesses in uniform delegation to Poland was a mission highlight. Entering Auschwitz-Birkenau, just like, guys, turn off this cookies thing. This is very annoying. Entering Auschwitz-Birkenau, the biggest and most terrifying death camp. For me, out of 9.5 years in the army, including battle under fire, nothing can compare to that moment. I march into Auschwitz to Birkenau. On my left shoulder is the flag of the Jewish state. On my right hand, in my right hand, the Torah scroll, our eternal legacy. In my left hand, I hold pictures of my brave great-grandmother, Matilda Auerbach Hirsch, and her youngest children, 5-year-old Shmuel, 4-year-old Shoshana, my mother's namesake, all murdered right there over 70 years ago. Surrounded by our heritage, my responsibility as a combat officer, and of our fate and destiny, I led 160 officers, the next generation of Israel's commanders, unforgettable. This result seemingly contradicts the headline, but that's the point. This was one of the very few moments I bonded with the mission. Guys, you have to understand, this guy, he grew up primarily in Israel. His parents are English speakers, but I would say that his first language is Hebrew, even though he speaks English pretty well conversationally, but writing is, I think some of this was translated from Hebrew, so just excuse the syntax here. As we landed in Poland, I immediately recognized that I was unenthusiastic, and by the end of the first day, I realized why. Quote, in Poland, I feel Jewish, I can't explain it. I feel more Jewish, only here do I put on tefillin. The opening of our first daily briefing by our lieutenant colonel, a dedicated and devoted commander. This was the atmosphere of the entire trip. Poland defines our identity. Our whole purpose, the essence of our existence, and of our military service is never again. The Israeli education system and IDF failed to build a strong and proud Jewish identity among teenagers. That failure affects their motivation as young adults to serve our people and country in significant roles, especially enlisting for combat. Israel's official remedy for treating this failure has become Poland and the Holocaust. I witnessed this personally. Dozens of soldiers under my command singled out their high school visit to Poland as the key reason for drafting to combat service. My friend recalled that when he was debating if to extend his service, his commander sent him to Poland. As he was landing back in Israel, this colonel called when he was coming into the office to commit for more years. If Poland is the cure to this educational failure, I don't want to be any part of it. I don't want any part of it. We need to find better ways to justify our existence here and to strengthen our sense of mission in the IDF. It is impossible to base an entire moral infrastructure on one event or epoch as tragic as it is. 2 months ago, my grandfather, Benjamin Hirsch, passed away, the last of 5 survivor siblings. So my daughters won't hear about the Holocaust firsthand like I did from him. The survivors are disappearing, and the next generation of Israelis and Jews might see the Holocaust as something ancient and irrelevant like Tisha B'Av, the night of Av. For the respect we have for Holocaust memory to endure, we must stop using it as the ultimate motivational source and rather as a seminal event in our long history as a nation of Israel, a history of thousands of years, tragedies and triumphs, full of values and virtue. Yeah, guys, I'll just add my thing. If you want to remember a Holocaust, how about Bogdan Khmelnytsky in Ukraine, who killed 300,000 Jews? It's not 6 million, but it's a lot of Jews, guys. Nobody walks around, remembering the Bogdan Khmelnytsky massacres. It's one of those things. Too soon? It's not too soon. It already passed. It's 300 years, 400 years? Here you go. Israel is now a strong, flourishing country, a startup nation. It is time to find better ways to strengthen the sense of connection to the IDF mission and to justify our existence here. It is time to stop connecting everything to the tragic fate of the Jews and instead look ahead with vision and a common destiny true to our roots and timeless values. Major Reserve Yaakov Sullivan, a strategic affairs expert and IDF motivational speaker for soldiers and draftees. A Golan resident and IDF Tactical Command College alumni. Major Sullivan is a popular speaker in Israel and abroad, and a leading Golan international spokesman. Yeah, he's a spokesman for the Golan Heights. Following a decade of service as an Armed Corps combat commander, he founded Slingshot Israel. Yeah, guys, check it out. His page. It's called Slingshot Israel, which draws upon our military experience to instill values and encourage social action. My friends, I will just tell you, but it's true what he's writing. It's true what I just described to you guys from the Pew survey. But this all comes from a place. And it comes from, there's a deep explanation. A friend of mine explained to me from a I guess, a spiritual or Kabbalah perspective that there are, I guess, what's called klipot. We're talking about these husks in Kabbalah. I don't have the language to translate it. It's very difficult. But there are klipot that stick with, I guess, families or with people across generations. And, when we look at what's happening today in America with the whole thing of Jews just cowering and being afraid, or some Jews, right? Because you notice, guys, if you go to the community, the Bukharian community and the Sephardi community in Brooklyn and other places, those are the Jews that are not cowering. And they had their own traumas. They had their own stuff happening in the countries that they're from. But they don't seem to be affected by the traumas, unlike Jews, Ashkenazi Jews from the, Eastern Europe and all these other places, where these things, have gone on for generations, these issues. And they've cascaded down to this generation, to the point where people are just afraid to not just acknowledge, but show their heritage, their culture, and all these other things. Not to say that most Jews were wearing kippahs anyway, they weren't, but just the fact that we have a person in the administration, Biden administration, coming out and saying we should not be wearing kippahs openly on the streets, etc., my friends, you have to understand, and I have to give people, Damakaf Schut, the benefit of the doubt, as to why this is happening. Because there are just generational traumas. And I'll tell you guys something, I think that, these traumas, or this trauma, I think this generation, or the people who are even younger than me, are going to be the generation who shake off or who work through these issues. the people who are going to get this kind of very, very tumultuous wake-up call by everything that's happening around them. Because again, guys, it all goes back to what I said in the beginning. We have these traumas, we had these traumas, and for generations, we basically cover them up with the comforts and all of the trappings of the West and all of the success that we have experienced. And really, the only way to work through the issues is when, and maybe sometimes, not the only way, but sometimes, it takes an outside force, or an awakening, or a shaking up, or something happening, whether it's physical or financial, has v'shalom. But sometimes that's what it takes for people to wake up and to, say, why do we have these issues? Why do we have these traumas? Where do they come from? Maybe we should take a good look in the mirror. Maybe we should look at why, who are we? Why are we behaving the way that we're behaving? Who are we as a Jewish nation? Who are the Jews of the United States of America? 80% of them or more don't keep Torah or anything remotely resembling it, right? And if they say, well, we do good deeds and all that kind of stuff, it's a social justice. Guys, I can talk from here to Timbuktu about the social justice that these people are involved in, the Tikkun Olam, okay? We see where that led them on college campuses, where their kids cannot, are being boycotted by their roommates. So we see where this Tikkun Olam supposed led them, what path it led them down, But I'll tell you guys, I think that what's happening right now in America, you might be saying, we should find a way to put a stop to this. We should find a way to mitigate this. How could this happen? We have to get people's attention. We have to get people, we have to be not just another victim in the, in the victim Olympics, in the competition of all the victims that were recently hashtagging themselves, whether it's Asians, African Americans, Hispanics, LGBTQ, and sometimes Y, alphabet soup. And, we have to post our blue squares and circles and trapezoids. First of all, guys, I just made another video explaining to you how and why nobody cares. Secondly, I think it's a good thing. If anything, in the long run, it's a good thing that what is happening now is happening, because I'll tell you guys something. There was a very famous phrase, I'll tell you who said it. And I want to quote the person. I want to make sure I quote the correct person. It was a phrase that was said by, I think it was Rav Chaim Volozhin. I believe he lived in the 1800s in Poland. There you go. It's a very famous phrase. And it was said, just give me 1 second, guys. Yes, Rav Chaim Volozhin. Rav Chaim Volozhin, guys, just to give you some historical context, he lived in, yes, it's Chaim ben Yitzhak of Volozhin or Chaim Ikovitz. He lived in the he was born in the mid 1700s, late 1700s, let's say, that was a brunt, and he passed away in 1821. He said a very famous phrase. He said, if the Jew does not make Kiddush, the Gentile will make Havdalah. I'm going to repeat the phrase. If the Jew does not make Kiddush, the Gentile will make Havdalah. Havdalah. If you guys know what Havdalah is the ceremony where we, separate between Shabbat and the rest of the week, and we light a fire, and we smell the incense, and we drink the wine. So he says, this is from Torah.org. The pattern that emerges is that there is no logical reason for anti-Semitism until you focus on the real cause, that the Jew represents Hashem. We are Hashem's people. When the Gentile looks at a Jew, he sees Hashem, and that image is not always attractive to him. Meaning Hashem is like talking to you, right? So, however the Jews are behaving, we're the representatives of Hashem. So if we're behaving badly, something's going on. this concept carries a huge lesson for us. While we may forget our holiness and our destiny, the Gentile nations are always there to remind us we are different, we are unique, and our role is unlike that of any nation. As is quoted in the name of our fine Volosian, if the Jew doesn't make Kiddush, the Gentile will make Havdalah. Havdalah meaning he will separate us from him. If we recognize our greatness and live up to our title of the chosen nation, responsibility, not superiority, we are then exalted, revered, and respected. When we fail to recognize our unique destiny and absorb the cultures of the times, Tikkun Olam, and all these other wonderful things, and I'm not going to get into it in this video, okay? Then we are sent a reminder after reminder of our unique role amongst the nations, Hashem's chosen people, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, what you guys are seeing, after all, everything I just told you, in the United States of America today, you could say it's because of what's happening in Israel, and Thomas Friedman of New York Times, this is what he attributes it to. What he doesn't understand is, there's no other people who, if Russians attack Georgia, no one's going to walk around beating up Russians in the streets of Brooklyn and Brighton Beach, okay? It's just not going to happen. If the Ukrainians and Russians go to war, Ukrainians and Russians in Brooklyn, not really. But, my friends, so we understand that people are attacking Jews, not because of a war in Israel, but because there's something else going on here. And I hate to say it, the Jews in America are not making Kiddush. And the people that don't like us, not all Gentiles, but the people that don't like us, they are starting to make Havdalah, if they haven't already. They are preparing the incense and the candles and the wine, and they're about to make Havdalah, my friends. That's basically the story. And maybe what's happening today, right now, in the States, will help to wake us up and will help us to understand that, first of all, our identity is not predicated on the Holocaust or any other burning and persecution or anything like that. Our identity is based on something else. It's based on something higher. And maybe, just maybe, hopefully, we will remember who we are. We will have some unity, a little bit of it, not temporary, permanent, hopefully. And, B'ezrat Hashem, we will wake up. Because if we don't make Kiddush, the Gentiles will make Havdalah. With that in mind, my friends, it's almost Shabbat, speaking of Kiddush. And got a couple hours here. And I really hope we wake up, guys. I really hope we wake up. Alright, Shabbat Shalom, and I'll talk to you guys soon.